Felicitations, adventurers! Welcome to Roll for Felicity, where we play serialized one-shots in a multitude of systems with assorted players. And tonight, we are playing a game of Executive Decision, a white-knuckle game of political, something. I forget what the tagline is. Political, crunch or something. Anyway, tonight I am here with, my friends, Rachel, Josh, and my husband, Mike. And then also, I'd like to say, before I do anything else, thank you so much, CT Truster, for the 6-month sub. You are now officially a hero. And you'll have a little icon next to your name while you're playing, or while you're in the chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I was having some frame rate issues and I turned the stream off like right when you hit sub. So, apologies for that. Not great timing. Also, I will say, I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, but I am still experiencing some frame rate stuff. I don't know if it's just because of where I live. My bandwidth is not great right now. So I don't think it'll like crash the stream or anything, but if you're seeing dropped frames or like pixelations, apologies in advance. I can only do so much. But after all of those caveats and things like that, my name is Taylor. I am going to be the president this evening, which is very exciting. And I'll throw it to each of my participants tonight. I'll start with Rachel. If you want to introduce yourself, and also, if you wanna say it's on screen your title, but you can also introduce yourself as your title.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be your vice president this evening.
And then next up, let's do Josh. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I am Josh. My pronouns are they, them. Today, I'm going to be Taylor's chief of staff.
And Mike, who by all rights should be first lad, but will not be this evening. Do you want to introduce yourself?
That is a really good idea. Like, yeah, we should have done that. Yeah,
Could be both.
hi everyone.
There's just a lot of nepotism going on in this administration.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Hey everyone. Yeah, my name is Mike. And I am going to be the Secretary of Labor tonight. So pretty excited.
Yeah, I was going to talk and then I realized I muted myself. Let me know in the chat too if any of the levels are off. Mike and I are in the same house. He's in a different room. But if you hear his vocals bleeding through my mic or vice versa, let me know. I'll try to get that figured out. I guess I should explain the game a little bit. So tonight we're playing this game called Executive Decision. You'll notice a big red timer on screen on Twitch. And the timer is, this game is played in real time. So I'll start off everyone with a scenario. I'll describe what the scenario is. And all of my, I was going to say cabinet. I don't think chief of staff or vice president are technically in the cabinet. I'm just going to use cabinet. We'll have a certain amount of time to convince me of a certain path to take. There'll be things that come up during that time that will add complications, add other things. And then at the end of the scenario, based on what action I take, they'll have points. They have secret agendas, and then also each cabinet position has like specific agendas that are known. I believe, let me pull up the rules so I can say what each person's agendas are. The vice president's known agenda is tax revenue. So that's the thing that you can count, that Rachel is going to be arguing for what she thinks will be good for tax revenue. The Secretary of Labor, the agenda that he's going to be working with is health. So to the best of his ability, he's going to be advocating for something that will increase the health score. And then the Chief of Staff, Josh, is going to be arguing for what they think will bring the most voter satisfaction is their agenda. And then each player can have up to 3 additional hidden agendas that they pick from a list that they might be arguing for. Also, I'll put this... I think that's the chat command that I need. I might have not put an S on. Hang on. I always include something... I think that's right. There we go. The bot just put something in the chat that there are certain ways that you can influence the game tonight. So if you tip on the... There's a little link below. All the tips get split between all the participants tonight. And so if you tip between $1 and $5, or now that I'm affiliate, you can also use bits, which is Twitch's like currency. So between 100 to 500 bits. You can give one player an additional 30 seconds to make their case, during which no one else can talk. And then, for $6 to $10, you can, or 600 to 1,000 bits, you can pick one player to silence for 2 minutes. So if there's someone that, that you want to not talk for 2 minutes, you can tip that amount. And that serious business is your boyfriend, right? Because I saw that and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's someone Rachel knows, so I don't think I need to like ban someone for like being weird. But yeah.
I mean, you could if you wanted to.
But I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Rachel's boyfriend. And then the last thing is, for anything more than $10, you can stop the clock for 1 minute, and I will have to give an impassioned West Wing style President Bartlett monologue based on whatever we're talking about. So I think without further ado, I am going to, the first scenario we're going to do 2 scenarios tonight because each one takes an hour. We'll do a break in the middle. I'm talking a lot right now, but I will stop talking soon. And so let me pull up the scenario. I need to pull up the scenario, and then I also, the window that I have the countdown in, I can't find. Oh, there we go. There it is. So I'll set that timer. So first, I've got a lot of windows open. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and read the first part of this scenario. This one is taken from the PDF from Executive Decision, which, at some point my bot should come up with like a link to like how to get this if you want to play yourself. The title of this, scenario is the Cavendish Memo. And I will have to change some of the wording because this book says Mr. President, and although that has been a historical precedent is not the case tonight, Madam President, your former personal secretary, Miss Doe, who you fired last week for gross incompetence, has disappeared. Reported missing by an aunt in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Her car was found abandoned on Interstate 70 near Clear Springs, Maryland. According to Doe's landlord, she was moving back to Pittsburgh and would be staying with the aforementioned aunt. No one has seen or heard a word from Doe in 2 days. The White House IT director reports that illegal copies were made of your personal correspondence files 2 weeks ago, unnoticed due to a recent server glitch. The IT director has determined the list of copied correspondence contains a potentially explosive memo. The Cavendish Memo is a 6-month-old personal letter from, it keeps throwing off that it says your, because this is a third party talking to me. A 6-month-old personal letter from your old college friend, the Cavendish Corporation CEO, suggesting that if certain environmental statutes were relaxed for the corporation, they could build a new factory in Montana. A Cavendish factory would bring in new jobs, cause the local and state tax revenues to increase dramatically, and lead to enhanced economic development throughout the region. Also, Cavendish is known for high worker satisfaction due to its extensive health benefits following your own presidential recommendations, a plank in your election platform. At the time, you responded with tentative interest in pursuing further talks about the CEO's plan. Unfortunately, Giving Cavendish a pass on these environmental restrictions would directly violate the new Global Environment Treaty you signed just last month in Oslo. The White House phone bank is being swamped with calls from voters about your secretary and the missing files. The White House press corps is demanding a statement. What will you do? So everybody, I know that was a lot, so I'll give everyone a second to think about it. Mike, can you back away from your camera a little bit? Because your name tag is like covering a little bit of your face. There you go. That's perfect. I will go ahead and start the clock for, wow, it really scrolls and scrolls. I'll start it at 60 minutes. Actually, I'm going to start at 61 minutes because there's one more thing I have to read at like 0 minutes. So I'll start it at 61 just to make sure I'm not holding it up. There we go. 61 minutes on the clock. Okay. The first thing I have to read. The Cavendish Corporation memo has been released to the domestic and foreign media. The White House press corps is screaming for a statement. The media and internet blogs are alive with discussion of Miss Doe's disappearance. The public, the media, and the international community demand answers of me, Madam President. We have 5 options. So I'll read these so that you can maybe have a chance to write them down, because these are the 5 things that you can choose between. First, we can support the Cavendish memo. The benefits to the tentative agreement are substantial, even enough to balance the backlash from violating the Global Environment Treaty in this one isolated case. 2, rebuke the Cavendish memo. Agreeing to the outlined plan is poison now that it's been widely disseminated. Excuse me. The loss of face in the international community would be tremendous. 3, refuse to comment. The situation is too thorny for intemperate speech. It's worth putting up with the cries of the public and the media until the whole problem can be unraveled from Miss Doe's disappearance. 4, start the spin machine. Refocus attention on the missing Miss Doe, possibly trying to paint her as a political operative. And the final option, resign. You're caught between a rock and a hard place because the existence of the memo and your as yet unrevealed reply is a political and diplomatic firebomb. Best to just step down. So I'm bringing this all to you, my cabinet. What are we thinking? I got myself into some hot water. First responses.
Madam President, I think the first thing that we must address is the likelihood that your tentative reply end up being released to the public. Do you foresee that there is potential of that happening? Was it in writing?
You know, I picked you for my vice president for a reason. That's a very good thing to think of. It's been so long ago. You know, this was, how many years ago was this? Months ago. Months. Years. Who can say? I believe that there might be some emails floating around, may have made some tentative, you know, not promises, some tentative agreements.
Then certainly we cannot come out and rebuke it immediately, given the fact that it seems likely that your reply will get leaked, and then we will be liars, as well as treaty breakers.
That's definitely one thing to consider. Josh, you always have good insights. What do you think I should be doing?
DP is right. We've got to be careful here. If this gets out, there's only so much we can do to spin it. On the other hand, the voters are not going to like it if, you know, we commit to a treaty and then you go behind their backs, you're making these secret dealings. It's not going to look good. We have to think about your re-election campaign. I'm leaning right now towards rebuking. I think in the long run, it's going to look better for you.
Right. I mean, what I said several months ago, 6 months ago, it was a personal correspondence. You know, everybody kind of, somebody sends me in an email, I kind of give a kind of non-committal, possibly positive response. Mike, you know, you're the only person from my secretary, from my my actual cabinet that I brought in for this one, just because I trust you implicitly. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I'm thinking there's some room for us to move here. I think maybe we can keep the voters really happy by making this just maybe we could just make the deal happen with the company. I think, and that'd be really good for the workers that the of the state. And yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe you break the international treaty, but listen, I mean, sometimes you do that. So I don't know. I think we can spin it a little bit.
Oops, I'm still muted. Um, I don't know. It looks like you're about to say something, Josh. Go ahead.
We also have to be careful about our relations with other countries. Breaking this treaty, it's just going to put us in a lot of hot water. Just for some potential gains down the road with the voters, you're going to have an immediate hit right now just from breaking your word.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't come out yet. All we know is, the only thing that's come out is this memo from Cavendish. I don't even know if my response is in any of the compromised files. So I don't know. I'm hearing some different things. I'm hearing, my VP started off strong saying don't rebuke the memo because it's going to look bad if my response comes out. Sounds like the other two of you think maybe I should just go for it. Just say, like, hey, just because someone sent me something doesn't mean I agree with it. Is that am I getting the lay of the land?
We're gonna have to thread this carefully though, because if you come out and say that you don't agree with it, and then this response of yours comes out, either way, this situation's not good. We've got to spin this as best as we can. We don't want to get ourselves in any more hot water.
It's also worth considering, I think, that the climate agreement that we signed in Oslo has been in the works for years. So you had this conversation a couple of months ago. We cannot simply pretend like we did not know that this climate deal was coming. And I think that will reflect extremely poorly if the administration comes out right now and tries to say, oh no, that's not what we meant.
Yeah, what are you thinking, Mike? You look like a man in deep thought.
I think yeah, I guess that's something to consider, the international sort of. I just I think I don't know. I think maybe you can have the best of both worlds. I think maybe you can just although the treaty might have been in the works for a little bit, you could just say that maybe it was in the works, but it doesn't mean that it was in place yet. I think you could save face internationally and domestically as well, maybe.
So, are we thinking maybe just pin this all on Miss Doe? She's nobody knows where she is right now. Maybe we can spin it. Maybe I don't have to make a statement at all. Maybe we can just, get the press secretary on it, change the conversation to something else. I did have to let her go for gross incompetence. So you could just say, like, these allegations are ridiculous. I had nothing to do with this. I mean, it's a little bit of a lie, but
I mean, she wouldn't be the first woman to be maligned for
okay.
behavior regarding a president. And certainly, she is under investigation due to the leak. She is the current #1 suspect, so it isn't untrue to put out a statement saying that she is currently under investigation with her whereabouts unknown.
That's true.
Due to leaking of potentially sensitive government information.
Yeah, although you do bring something to mind, which is that Twitter is going to go wild if the first all-female presidential lineup, if we immediately, get into office and then just start calling, saying my secretary is, unreliable, any sort of thing like that.
It has shades of Monica Lewinsky, to be sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to consider.
That's true.
We've got to be very careful how we spin this. If we can spin it and make it look like the information's not coming from us, if we get it into the media and let them talk about it, just divert attention away from your actions, your dealings. That is the best case scenario, if we can just get people to focus on another issue, but it can't be coming from us if this information, if your further responses get out, we can't take one tact and then immediately have to backtrack that. That's not going to play well with the voters at all.
You hear me out on this one. Why don't we just come out and denounce this whole, the whole environmental corporate thing in general? And once this is, you guys know how quickly things move. It's going to be gone in a day or two. And after a day or two, we reach out to them, the corporation, and say, hey, sorry, we kind of had to do that. Our hands were tied, but we're all good to go. Maybe we just do that. I don't know.
So your suggestion is that we sacrifice the environment and therefore the potential health of the citizens who will be affected by the building of this factory in order to save short-term face?
Gotta say, I'm with the VP on that one.
Well, I mean, let's, I think something to consider is maybe the health of the people in that state's always something that's going to be very important, something we should consider. Maybe we should also consider that the environmental report, of this wasn't that comprehensive, and what's healthier than more people in the workforce and more people getting insured? What's more healthy than that? So.
I mean, it would certainly increase tax revenue to have more people in the workforce, but if those people become sick, end up on disability, that doesn't look good from a voter perspective. Can't vote if you're dead. And certainly, destroying the environment may get us short-term gains, but in the long term, what does that look like in 4 years for a re-election?
Go ahead, Josh. I can tell something's on your mind.
No, I completely agree with the VP again here. What's not going to be healthy is going to be your re-election campaign if you look like a hypocrite. Your opponent, whoever it is going to attack you anyway. You cannot give them material that they can use for attack campaigns that make it look like you're doing these shady dealings and breaking your word. That's gonna look bad to the voters.
I want the three of you to give it to me straight, because there's one thing we haven't really talked about. I trust all of you to steer me true on this one. Do you think I should resign? Do you think this is too much?
You can't resign yet, Madam President. This doesn't look good, but we're not in. We can still spin this. We can still we can make a play here and at least come out of this looking clean, if not better off. If we play our cards right, if everything goes okay, we can make this work.
I agree. I think that resigning is an extreme option that should not even be on the table at this time, given the nature of what this is. Presidents have survived far worse scandals than a leaked email that does not even necessarily promise anything. I see no reason to resign over this.
Absolutely agree 100%. Resignation, not even, don't even consider that right now. That's not even something we need to be thinking about. Very easy for us. I agree with both Rachel and Josh. We take care of this, do a little spin on it. Like Rachel said, presidents have survived much worse. And I think like I said, I think in a week we'll be fine. That's my take on
I appreciate all of your honesty. I always said when we were running this campaign, uh, I want you to be honest with me. I don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of, you know, yes men. I don't want to be surrounded by people who are just going to tell me, go, Madam President. So I just wanted to bring that up. No one had talked about it yet. I didn't want it to be, it's kind of the elephant in the room. The other option, which, we haven't really gotten into, Mike, you've mentioned a couple times, maybe just waiting it out, something else is going to happen, the news cycle will move on. What if you just don't say anything? Just let some time pass. Don't say anything at all.
Silence is suspicious. I think we need to get ahead of the game and control the narrative. We are expected to make a statement, and I think saying nothing only leaves room for rampant speculation.
Agreed. It's a tough call, but if we make a bold stance here, if we really look like we're standing for something, we can really spin that. Uh, we have to make the right call, and we have to, depending on this information that could come out. Is there anything else in these memos and these emails that could ruin us here?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't promise anything. I didn't make any promises. I didn't say anything for sure. Someone upstairs is turning on Alexa, and I don't know if you can hear that on the mic. It was very loud. The the first lad is having trouble with Alexa. Yeah, as far as I remember, and as far as I've been informed, by some of my other staff, I didn't make any promises. I just didn't, I didn't exactly shoot him down. Cavendish came to me. We've been friends for a while, and Vice President, you're talking about the health and everything like that. And I will say, I mean, one of the reasons why I was not willing to immediately shut the idea down is because Cavendish is known for extensive health benefits for their employees. And in our current climate, that's incredibly important to people. So it's jobs, but it is also access to healthcare, which one of the things I really care about. So, you can say this is double dealing, this is lying to our constituents, but at the same time, make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs.
That's understandable. My concern would be that often when we disrupt the environment, we create long-term health issues that may not present while these citizens are still employed by Cavendish. And what about the community surrounding this factory that is also not going to be employed by Cavendish? If we destroy their environment, which we know is linked to health, it is a contributing factor to health, have we not simply created more issues that Cavendish may not in fact be prepared to deal with?
Labor Secretary, I saw you nodding along when I was talking about the healthcare issue. What are your thoughts? You are connected to the workers more than any other man I know.
I feel like I gotta agree with you. I just think that I understand, Rachel, the environment. You gotta think about it. You gotta think of long-term health, but maybe you know the effects of this might not be felt for after the time after this administration is gone, and who's to say that the next administration isn't the one responsible for bringing the environment, the health in question of the environment in the surrounding area. I don't see why it has to necessarily be a concern right now.
I agree on one thing, and that's that we're playing a long-term game here. Madam President, you can do a lot more for health with a second term than you will with this deal here. Tell Cavendish whatever you want. Let them do what they want. If you can make this look good to the voters, we can get you a second term. We can do a lot more with that than this single deal is going to get you.
That's exactly what I'm saying. 100%.
Okay, well, the good news is we've narrowed it down to a couple of options. 3 options. The bad news is 2 of the options are directly oppositional to each other. So one option is start the spin machine, pin it all on, we all remember Ms. Doe. There's a reason why she was fired. She was incompetent. She was an incompetent personal secretary. You all remember all the times when, I was supposed to be in a meeting and then I was in a different meeting. I was in the White House is huge. She would constantly tell me that I was supposed to be in one office and I was supposed to be in another. We all have stories like that with Ms. Doe. We could start the spin machine with that. The other 2 options are directly oppositional. So it seems like Mike's kind of telling me to go ahead and support the Cavendish memo. The other 2, you seem to be telling me more that I should say hey, I don't agree with this memo, and maybe just hope that my response doesn't come out. Hope that I can keep spinning it. Apologize for not shooting it down.
If the response comes out, we can say you were exploring your options, you were working along with, someone to explore potential deals. But if you didn't make any actions, you didn't make any concrete promises, that gives us a lot of wiggle room. We can just take a bold stance here, and that's going to play well, I think.
I agree. I think that, you didn't commit to anything. And ultimately, this proposal, should we promote it, does help a small portion of voters in one section of the country. But coming out with a bold statement in favor of the environment that does not appear as if we went back on our word plays well not only with the international community, but with voters at home. And I believe, it was said earlier, you can do more for the long-term health of this country with a second term. And I think that rebuking the memo gets us to that point much more easily.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, I guess. Yeah, actually, when you think about it, just kind of hope it doesn't come out for now. And if we can put this fire out, and then even if the memo comes out down the road, that's the point where it'd be like, no one's going to remember that. I mean, it'll just be like, oh, leaked memo. And at that point, you could just be like, I don't know, say it was, I don't know, what, some universally disliked country. Maybe they were the ones that hacked and tried to release it. I don't know.
Yeah, so it sounds like maybe we're all on the same page for right now. Rebuke the memo. Say hey, Now, I guess the question is, do I acknowledge that I sent a response? Because right now, nobody knows that I sent a response. No one knows what my response is. They just know, the appearance of some impropriety, maybe insider deals kind of thing. Like, Cavendish is an old college friend of mine, so that doesn't look great for me. What are we thinking? Does anyone have, I'll say also, a little bit over the table, does anyone have assertions that they want to make about anything that they think is going to happen, as well? Memo, I just completely lost my train of thought. So now we're thinking right now rebuke and just hope that my response doesn't come out.
I mean, we can say in our statement that you did have discussions with Cavendish. If we kind of come clean, we don't really say what you said. Then we have a response ready if it comes out, and if it doesn't, then we're in the clear. I don't know that we can plan for that, but we should hope for it. We should be prepared for it to come
out. I will now read the next part because we're about at that point, and also I think we're kind of all on the same page, so we can move to the next thing. So, we get a messenger that comes in and lets us know the Cavendish Corporation has just issued a statement saying that the CEO's letter was not a corporate communication, but simply a personal discussion between old college chums. Furthermore, the CEO has resigned from Cavendish. Ms. Doe is still missing. The FBI has some sketchy evidence that connects her to one of my political opponents. She had been seen after her dismissal in his company, having a late supper in Georgetown. And also, the press secretary has officially scheduled a press conference. So I do have to make a statement. And instead of having about an hour, she scheduled it for... we have... instead of an hour countdown, it's 55 minutes. So right now we have 35 minutes on the clock, so it would be 30 minutes from now. I have a press conference. So some more information has come out. Mr. Cavendish, apparently this was a big enough deal for him that he resigned. I'll say the uncomfortable thing again. Should I follow suit?
I mean, this is, I'm going to give it to you. It doesn't look good for us. This isn't good. This is frankly unexpected from Cavendish. But unless there's something extremely damaging in those communications, Madam President, I don't think resigning is the right choice here.
I'm still in agreement. The leader of a corporation is not the same as the leader of the free world. He made a choice as a private citizen. You are the leader of this country. I don't think that you can simply resign over the first hint of scandal.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is my response doesn't seem to have come out. We haven't tracked down Ms. Doe, but she might not even have it. Might have been on a different server.
Again, I think we could hope for that, but we shouldn't plan for it. We need to make a decision on what you're going to say, what you're going to tell the public, and we need to be prepared for the chance that response comes out.
Are you saying you think it will come out?
Frankly, Madam President, I always expect the worst. That's why you put me in this position. So, yes, I do think it will come out. Like I said, I hope it doesn't. I think we have to be prepared for it, and I think we have to just take a stance that is prepared for that possibility.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Mike?
I do have to say this does put a bit of a wrench in my plans. I was kind of hoping we could lean on Cavendish a little bit more, and maybe if everyone had stayed on the same page a bit more, then we would have been able to pin it a little bit more on Miss Doe. I don't think he should resign. I have to agree with Rachel and Josh on that one. I just don't exactly know what should be said now.
I mean, the good news is, though Cavendish resigning does look bad, his narrative was not dissimilar from the one we were already proposing, in that we admit to the communications, we rebuke it, it simply cannot be done due to political circumstances that have come to fruition since that time, but it was a communication between old friends. And I don't think it has to be anything more than that. And if it does, I think there can be a focus placed on a certain missing secretary who released classified information.
Any word on who's set to replace Cavendish? I know it's kind of sudden, but that might give us an idea of how to spin this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that information. I mean, as labor secretary, I don't know if you know anything about Cavendish Corporation. I would think maybe somebody else on the board of directors. Maybe, I mean, Cavendish has a son. It's possible he's just gonna, you know, unfortunately, as this situation is showing a little bit, there is some, it's all about who you know.
Yeah, Madam President, this just sways me more to think that we should rebuke this memo. Honestly, it seems like Cavendish, the company, is taking track that is not going to look good for them. This is going to be a bit of scandal on it. Obviously, they're trying to play some damage control already. I think we have to stay out of that. Supporting it at this time is just going to connect us to that scandal.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the headlines of, the our political opponents, with these opinion pieces saying Cavendish CEO resigned over this and the president herself won't resign. You know what I mean? It just like it feels really bad for us that Cavendish resigned when he didn't even do anything, like he was just, sending a memo.
I think the opposite, actually. I think that Cavendish reached out for special favor based upon a previous relationship with you, Madam President, and when he realized the impropriety of that, removed himself from the situation. What an honorable thing for him to have done.
That's good. I like that. I think I'm gonna send a message over to the speech writers to maybe include that. No matter what I say, include that. I've always appreciated your turn of phrase. Okay.
On the other hand, I don't know that we want to make resigning look like the honorable thing here. If you're going to stay, we're not considering it for you. We don't want to say, yeah, he should resign. The president is not even going to consider it. That's not a good look, I don't think.
That's true. That's true. Let me unsend that email to the speechwriter. send a follow up.
The president did nothing wrong. The president did not reach out to Cavendish first. Cavendish made the first move.
That's true, but if and when this response comes out, there's going to be that connection. I think we need distance between the president and between Cavendish as much as possible. Uh, One other thing to consider is if Doe is connected to your opponent, Madam President, can we get that information to the media? Can we get a spin on this that makes it look like some shady dealings by your opponent, by even Cavendish, and Doe? Can we make this look like this is an attack on you?
Yeah, that's true. We've been considering the negatives of this, which is that Cavendish did resign. It looks bad that he called it a personal discussion between old college chums. I've been focusing on the negative. But the positive is, we got information from the FBI that Ms. Doe is, this is a hatchet job, that she's colluding with my political opponent. Surely that's going to hold some water. Should we reconsider pinning it all on her? Not saying too much about the memo itself, but, my response has still not come out.
It's a possibility. Yeah, the voters like a president that's being attacked and standing firm in the face of that. That is going to play well. We just have to make sure that we have accurate information, because it's going to look bad if we try to pin this on Doe and it turns out we're acting on faulty information.
That's true.
Hmm.
Mike, you look like you're thinking of something.
Just wondering if maybe we can somehow connect Cavendish and Miss Doe, and maybe just make it look bad faith from both of them. And if you could possibly, if the memo does get leaked, which I agree with Josh, you always have to be ready for something like that, then maybe it would just appear as though, at the time Cavendish was kind of an associate, and then, maybe he's the one who's being wishy-washy and trying to make it look bad with Miss Doe, and he's only resigning because he's trying to make the administration look bad.
It's a good thought. I mean, Cavendish was a close friend. I don't know if I would think that he was colluding against me. I mean, how could he know? Although, if he was working with Ms. Doe, and this is a really in-depth sort of attack on my presidency, I don't know. What do you think, Rachel? What do you think? Do you think it's possible? You know Cavendish. We've met before.
I do. My concern is that while we have evidence linking Miss Doe to your political opponents, we have no such evidence for Cavendish, nor any linking her to him, which takes us into territory that I don't know that any of us are comfortable going down. It could be so easily disproven. Not to mention, I don't know that throwing Cavendish directly under the bus sets a very good precedent. Corporations do pay a certain amount of tax revenue, and we may need to consider that we do want to keep ourselves in their good graces to an extent.
Yeah, Josh, you're really in tune with the voter satisfaction, everything like that. How do you think the voters are going to take it if we just throw Cavendish under the bus? Do you think that's gonna poll well?
If we have accurate information that Cavendish and Doe are working together, that would be great for us. That's a pretty big assertion to make. If you start trying to throw Cavendish under the bus, I think it's going to look like you're looking for a scapegoat. You're gonna look weak if you're just trying to throw someone else under the bus without good information.
So it sounds like you're saying your colleague Mike is maybe maybe acting
He's
a little
making a pretty big
rash.
assertion.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if we can make that? What if we are able to listen? We can throw Cavendish under the bus, and we can remain good friends, and we can remain comfortable with the corporate America. I don't see why any of this has to be. I think I don't see Cavendish, the corporation itself, going anywhere. And sure, corporations bring in tax revenue, and obviously, but they're. I don't believe they're going to change their tune at all as far as how they operate, or cooperate with us.
As you're finishing that, finishing your argument, this is Taylor, the narrator, not Taylor, the president. A page comes in. Is that what they're called at the White House? I know that's what they're called on TV. I don't know if they're called an aide. I guess it would be an aide. Comes in, hands me some papers. And I look at the three of you and well, Josh, I hired you for a reason. You were right. My reply has been issued to the media. And we have 5 minutes to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm supposed to be on TV in 5 minutes. What are we thinking?
I hate being right. Honestly, Madam President, I'm still all on board for making a bold stance. I think you've got to rebuke this. You got to put distance between yourself and Cavendish and take a stance that the voters can support.
I agree with Josh. I think it's too risky to come out in favor of it right now. And I also think that it's risky to entirely throw Cavendish under the bus. I think if we have a scapegoat, it needs to be Miss Doe, though distasteful as that may be. But certainly coming out against it and remaining consistent with policy decisions that you have made and treaties you have signed is better in the long term.
Mike, you've been kind of the rebel so far. It seems like Josh and Rachel, I kind of expected they're my rocks, level-headed. You're a little bit of a maverick. What are you thinking? You are muted also. Okay. I was going to say, if you're trying to say something, you're muted.
I'm just I have to say I didn't expect it to expect this to come out so early, so soon in the events of today. Does throw my plan a little bit off.
Also, sorry, I think I said 5 minutes earlier. It's actually 10 minutes to... Actually, I think it might be more than that. Might be... No, I think it is 10 minutes, because I started the clock kind of off. This is 18 minutes on screen. So I think it's like 15 minutes. Anyway, a little bit less than that. But we have more than 5 minutes. I misspoke. But if we're all in agreement, I can get the speech written, we don't have to take up the entire time.
How did this come out? Like how was this, how did your response become publicized so quickly? Do you know?
I'm gonna shuffle through my papers. I mean, it doesn't... Doesn't say. You know, none of... it doesn't look like we know for sure. I mean, best guess is the same source as everything else, Ms. Doe. You know, angry she got fired. And I can understand in this economy, you know, I didn't want to fire her, but after so many failures, you just kind of, I had to do something. But it seems like she, you know, it's not for sure, but it seems like it's from her.
And again, Madam President, I will apologize. Miss Doe came with a lot of recommendations. We thoroughly checked. We ran the background checks. Again, I'm going to apologize for that suggestion. Clearly, I was not right on that one.
I didn't want to rebuke you in front of the other cabinet members. I was going to talk to you about that in private, but you know, I trust you. Everybody, clearly we all make mistakes. You know, who am I to judge, you know, an indiscretion in the hiring process when I have made an indiscretion with a college chum?
None of us are perfect, but we've got to look as good as we can for the voters. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah. Well, you know, as Madam Vice President pointed out, this is not the worst political fuck up with a secretary in White House history, so, or intern, as the case may be. Okay, so it sounds like we've got at least 2 votes. I should just rebuke the memo. Mike, what's your final take on it?
I am leaning towards rebuking. I am not gonna lie. I just I'm just trying to think of, you know, how to best approach this from... I don't know. Not 100% in agreement. Can we... How about this, huh? You say your response is it's fake. It's a fake document. It's not true. You didn't. You never. You know, there is. You know, you never said that. This is being. You know, this is forged in some way. How about that, huh?
I think that had Cavendish not resigned over it already, that may have been a path we could have gone down. But given that he has publicly owned it and publicly removed himself, I don't know that will be believed.
Yeah, trying to claim a forgery is just not going to play well. Wouldn't matter if it was true or not. It's not going to look true. And that's a bad look for us.
That's fair. I understand. I do think, you know, you could say that again, and this would look good for basically everyone. It would look good internationally. It would look good with the voters. Just say, hey, you know, this, like, Cavendish was a longtime friend, and now it turns out that he's, you know, like I said, I don't know. It turns out he's just, this is a political stunt from Cavendish. He doesn't have anything to lose because it's a family-owned company. Truly, at the end of the day, doesn't have anything to lose. You know, we have a good relationship with the company. We just move ahead with everything. I don't know. We could just kind of brush it off still, I think.
So you're saying we I don't know if I know exactly what path you're recommending. Are you recommending that we support the memo? Or are you recommending that we spin it off into something else?
Yeah, I mean, just say you could say that we were in correspondence, but I thought it was in good faith, and now it turns out that maybe that good faith has been tarnished, and the resignation from Cavendish is nothing more than a political stunt, and him releasing this is in bad faith, and also that you had never intended to, go back on any treaties or anything in the works, and that you also never meant to hurt the economy of the area and the workers that plan to join there, and maybe you just kind of brush it off a little bit.
So you're saying maybe, I mean, this just came to me. Maybe I even go so far as to say that I was playing along with Mr. Cavendish, that I was drawing him out, that it was, a sting operation from the president herself. Spin it into something. Now, Josh, I can tell you're trying to hide your emotions a little bit. I can tell you're trying to be reserved, but, I know you very well.
Again, that's gonna be a terrible look. You're gonna try and play it like you've betrayed this friend that you have to run some kind of sting operation. The president herself is meddling in the affairs of this company, the single business. What does that say to the voters of America when the president is not focused on the nation itself, but on a company run by her friend? Again, we need as much distance between ourselves and Cavendish as possible.
But what if, because Madam President knows Cavendish so well, that she knows that he is actually corrupt, and it is the president herself who is trying to take down the internal corruption? The president is a white hat.
I'm loving this.
Again, if we're gonna spin it that Cavendish is corrupt, we don't want to connect the president to Cavendish. That's we're then putting the idea of corruption in the minds of the voters and connecting that to the president. That's the one thing we cannot do here. Who cares if Cavendish is corrupt or not? We cannot connect that to the president. We cannot have the president look like she is taking interest in the day-to-day runnings of this single business.
But what if it isn't the single business? What if, in fact, there are multiple corrupt individuals trying to seize power in this country, and it is only the president who can stop it?
Yeah. So Josh, what you're saying is you don't think voters would buy that the president is perhaps an undercover agent.
Now, Rachel's idea is what's really speaking to me, because what it does is it does what I was trying to convey, is that internationally, we're great. The voters are great. Oh, wow, the president and the administration are looking into these large corporations, and we're trying to create jobs. We're trying to make the country stronger, but we're also trying to do it ethically.
So, we're getting into some dodgy territory here. So let's get us back on track. I know
we're on track.
I know it was my idea. I've got to say, I don't know. The FBI has connected Ms. Doe and my political opponent, has not connected, Cavendish. I know Cavendish. I don't think I'm personally comfortable with, throwing him under the bus to that degree. Ms. Doe, I'm not as, if I have to throw her under the bus a little bit, it's like, well, she didn't do a very good job as my secretary. Cavendish, it's an unfortunate situation. He's a great guy. That's why I was positive toward him. So we either gotta it comes down to two things. We either gotta kind of throw Cavendish under the bus by rebuking the memo, by saying it wasn't appropriate for him to reach out. Honestly, wasn't appropriate for me to respond the way I did. The other option is to ignore Cavendish completely and just throw Ms. Doe under the bus. We have 2 minutes until I'm supposed to be on stage.
Again, we could try to spin this with Doe, but we don't know all the information there. Cavendish has already resigned. He's already stepped down. This is someone that the public is not going to look favorably upon. If we just rebuke this memo and come out against Cavendish, that's going to look good for you. You're taking a stand against corruption. I just think we don't know all of the possible angles with Doe. There's just too much we don't know there.
I agree with Josh. I think that the wisest course of action is simply to rebuke it. Cavendish has clearly already backed down. It's very easy to admit fault on both sides. I think being honest is important, but then be able to move on.
Mike, if you got a different opinion in mind, you got less than a minute to really change my mind, because I am kind of leaning. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I appreciate your ideas, but like I said earlier, Josh and Rachel, I mean, there's a reason why they're CEO, chief of staff is kind of the CEO of the executive. Well, I would be the CEO. Anyway, I've had a long day. You got about 30 seconds to convince me otherwise, Mike.
Okay. I think just try as much as you can. Just kind of when you're speaking about it, just don't give it too much weight. Just kind of brush it off, just say, these communications happen.
You're out of
sometimes.
time. I'm walking out the door. I've got the press secretary has grabbed me by the arm. I'm going to turn off this timer because it will make a sound. That's not the most pleasant sound. So I think I am going to go ahead and go with, even though, Mike was a little bit of a maverick, I think I am just going to go with kind of the generally agreed upon option. I'm just going to rebuke the Cavendish memo. So I'll go ahead and tell you all. Also, I guess we should clear up, it seemed like at one point Josh was making an assertion that my response was going to come out. Did you intend that to be an assertion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I was trying to do it without breaking
character. Cool. Was there anything else that anyone was making as an assertion that I may have missed? No. Okay.
I tried to get Mike to make one, but
I know Mike never really quite came. He danced around it, but yeah, I didn't really feel like he for sure made an assertion. Okay. So Josh, you will get I think just 1 point for the correct assertion that the memo that my response did come out. So for everything else, rebuke the Cavendish memo. Better to stand by your word. Better for the environment. Better for retaining face globally. Better overall politically. Worse for business, though. So I'll go ahead and read off the effect on the different aspects, basically. So if it says up, you get 1 point. If it says down, you get -1 point. If it says nil, then it we're about to get a sound alert, I think. Did it come on? There might be a song that's about to play. I can't tell if it's actually playing or not. Okay. Okay. Conservation up. So if you had that. Development down. Military nil. Voter satisfaction up. Health down. Sorry, Mike. I know that was one of yours. Centrism nil. Balanced budget nil. International prestige is up. and tax revenue is down, which that's, I know for sure, the VP. But voter satisfaction is up, so that's good for Josh. Yeah, let's start with Rachel. How many points did you end up with?
I ended up with 0.
0. Okay. Josh, how many points did you end up with?
I had 4 up and 0 down.
Wow. And Mike, how did you fare?
One up.
Perfect. So Josh, Chief of Staff, not too shabby. You got a point for correct assertion. Hang on.
It always pays to assume the worst.
That's true. And honestly, you did a good job as Chief of Staff. I think you all played your positions really well. That was super fun. Thank you all so much for your, I know this was a little more serious one, maybe a little bit harder to get into the, the headspace of, but I think you all did great. That was super fun. We are going to really quick take I think a 10-minute break for people to, hit up the restroom, get drinks, get snacks. I might need to check and make sure my sound alerts are on, because it says that Melanie played a sound alert and I didn't hear it come up. So if you're in the chat, let me know if that ever came up. My stream quality is terrible right now. It says I'm dropping 74% of my frames. So maybe I know sometimes when that's the case that the chat is like significantly behind like us. So it might play at any time. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, so I'll have to look into that. So when we come back from the break, first of all, if you stick around during the break, obviously I would love that. And if you have the stream up, you will generate channel points, which on this channel are called felicitations. And you can use those felicitations to do different things, like cash in sound alerts if they're working. I don't really know why they wouldn't be. You can also do things like name NPCs. So for the next, we're going to do another scenario. So if you cash in points, you can do that. You can make us all like get up and stretch really quick, stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to hang out with us during the break, we're going to be gone for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back with a second scenario. This one I wrote, and it's very goofy. We also might, over the break, people might choose new roles. We'll see. So we will be back. Let me queue up my break screen. And we'll see you all in 10 minutes. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging around during our break. I first need to say that I figured out why the sound alerts weren't working. It's because I didn't have them configured for this scene. So in honor of serious business, because this fits also, that I simply just didn't have it queued up.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
There's your sound alert, in honor of me forgetting to configure something for my stream. And also, thank you so much to Emoting Panda, aka Rachel, for subscribing with Prime. I really appreciate that. I was going to say this at the top of the stream and I completely forgot. I have emotes submitted to Twitch. They haven't approved them yet. So sometimes it can take like up to a week for them to be approved. So hopefully within the next couple of days I'll have those. But anyone who has subscribed, you will have access to those emotes. And then also for anyone watching, if you have Amazon Prime, you can connect that to your Twitch account, because you also get Prime Gaming free with Amazon Prime. And with Amazon and with Prime Gaming, you get one free subscription, so you don't have to pay anything. It's included with what you already pay for Amazon Prime. But I get money if you choose me to use for that Amazon Prime subscription, which is what Rachel did. She subscribed with Prime. So that helps me out a lot. Obviously, I appreciate anyone just being here, being in the chat. Mathematical! Redeeming those sound alerts, redeeming those points. Also, if you have bits, I know a lot of people watch on their phones, but if you're on your computer, you can scroll down in my About section. I have a panel where you can use bits to play sound, like different sounds as well. So there's a bunch of sounds in that. It does cost you like actual money. But, you know, like I have bits on my account. Like I know like sometimes you can like watch ads and stuff and get bits. So that's available to you as well. But enough business. We're playing Executive Decision tonight if you're just joining us, which is a white knuckle game of political strategy. And I'm joined tonight by my friend Rachel, who is serving as my vice president, my friend Josh, who is serving as my chief of staff, and my friend and husband Mike, who is serving as my secretary of labor. And we just played a round of this game. It's played in real time, so you'll notice there is a big red like timer. It's not counting down anything yet, but the game is played in real time. It takes an hour to play the game. We just finished one, we took a break, and we're coming back with another one. This scenario I wrote, and it's a little goofy. It's a little sillier than the first one. I did a poll on Twitter for people to choose whether they would prefer that I do the more serious scenario first or the goofier one first. Excuse me. And the people spoke and they wanted to do the serious one first. If you're not already following me on Twitter, @RollForFelicity is the like channel account. Whenever I can't decide how I want to do something, I just put a poll on Twitter. So if you're interested in deciding things like that for streams, you can go ahead and follow me there. I also talk about like I've tweeted some art of like a stream that's coming up that's going to be on Tuesday where we're going to be playing Mouse Ritter. So all the players will be playing as little mice. It's kind of Redwall-ish. So I have art. One of the players, Goblin Girl Gaming, made art of the mice, and so it's super cute. That's on Twitter. But I'm gonna throw it over to my guests tonight to reintroduce themselves for anyone joining for the second half, and see if they have anything that they would like to plug. And I will start with my lovely Vice President Rachel. You want to reintroduce yourself and anything you have to plug?
Hello again, everybody. I am Rachel. I am your Vice President for the evening. I am here in my Kamala curls and my AOC lipstick. And I would like to plug wearing a mask because we're in a pandemic. Thank you.
Yes, seconded. Josh, you can reintroduce yourself, my Chief of Staff, and anything you want to plug.
Yeah, I'm Josh. I'm the Chief of Staff. I play a lot of RPGs, too many RPGs probably, just all the time. So that's what I do. But I don't really have anything to plug specifically tonight, no projects. But if I do have anything coming up, it will be on my Twitter. So if you're interested, you can find me on there. I think all the info is in the graphics.
Yeah, that's in the graphics. And then also if you've been on stream, my bot has actually, Melanie, if you want to drop the player, Melanie, I should also say, this is a little distraction from introducing Mike next, but Melanie, shout out to Melanie, I made her a moderator for my chat. So Melanie, if you want to put the player thing, like have the bot say that, I think it's just like exclamation point players or something like that. I can't remember. That's why I'm asking you to do it. But yeah, everyone's like social media is also in that, and it's also on screen. And then yes, thank you. She just put that in the chat. And Mike, do you want to reintroduce yourself and anything you want to plug?
Yeah, so hey everyone, my name is Mike, and my second time on stream here on Roll for Felicity, so super happy. 3 times. Well, there you go. 3 times. Time flies. Yeah, nothing really for me to plug exactly. I'll just say, I'll piggyback off of Rachel and just say, not only should you wear a mask, you should wear it over your nose as well.
Please.
Very easy to do. So, oh, and also I'll just say again, check out the Roll for Felicity Twitter just to check out some of that art that was made for the next the next stream. It's super super good, and it's really cool to see. I always love seeing like art of like like tabletop characters and stuff like that. So yep, that's it.
I just tried to do a shout out in chat and I thought that I had it right, but my bot didn't actually do anything in response to that command. I don't know what I'm doing.
The robots are rebelling.
Yeah. I need to figure out. I think I just put the wrong command in. I already said this, but Goblin Girl Gaming on Twitch, she is the one who did the drawings on Twitter, so definitely give her a follow. She does great stuff. She's a variety streamer. And then one last thing I'm going to say before we hop into this game is you in the chat can influence what happens during this scenario for tips that will be split between all the participants tonight, between $1 and $5 tips, or the equivalent in bits, which is like 100 to 500 bits. You can add 30 seconds to the clock where only one person of your choice is allowed to talk and make their case. You can, for $6 to $10, you can make someone not talk for 2 minutes. So you can, subject someone to a little bit of punishment. And for anything more than $10, you can stop the clock for 1 minute, and I will give an impassioned West Wing style speech as president. Not just a 1 minute speech. I'm not going to make myself go for a long time. But yeah, you can affect what happens on stream. And then also there's lots of different rewards if you spend felicitations, which is the channel points. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into our scenario. And this one, like I said, I wrote, and I will also say, the concept was Melanie's idea. So I wrote it, but the basic concept was Melanie. So this one, shout out to you. Where's my timer? Oh my gosh. Okay. The year is 3021. Humanity has left Earth and relocated to a series of enormous space stations with many, many winding hallways. You are in Space Station America, and I, the newly elected president, Robot Taylor, have chosen you all for my cabinet. The two-party system, despite being obviously deficient in many ways, is still in control of the democracy. Since leaving Earth, the major wedge between the two parties is the existence of daylight savings time. The previous president was a member of the Daylight Savings Party devoted to preserving old Earth traditions, and we all are members of the Common Sense Party devoted to getting rid of a concept that didn't really even make sense 1,000 years ago. Nevertheless, I have called you into the Oval Office for an emergency meeting. The three of you are walking down a hallway as you confer before the meeting. If you want to give me a quick taste of your little walk and talk session as you're headed to the Oval Office.
Michael, do you have any updates on that project we talked about?
Oh, the project, yeah, it's coming along. It's coming along. Yeah, I've been my staff's on it. They've been on it all day. Yeah. When do you need that?
I need a report to the president by the end of tomorrow. Do you have an update on that situation with the workers' demands?
Yeah. I talked to the workers, and we'll have something real good tomorrow. Absolutely. Yeah.
I like how the person who has seen West Wing really out of the three of you is not participating in the walk and talk. I did put you on the spot.
I just can't stop laughing.
Yeah. I saw this as a goofy.
Are we robots?
It's up to you. I 100% am a robot. It's up to the three of you if you'd like to be.
Alien.
Yeah, you could be aliens. You could be humans. You could be brains in jars. It is 100% up to you. Yeah, I'll let you all think of that if at any point during the scenario you want to make clear your biological status. I guess that would be. go for it. But I am. Oh, this is the this is the narration I wrote. Nevertheless, I've called you into the Oval Office for an emergency meeting. We now cut to a scene of the three of you walking down a hallway as you confer before the meeting. If someone was paying close attention, they would notice that you keep turning left. These hallways don't really make sense, but boy, do they make your conversation dramatic. And I am going to go ahead and start the clock, because I'm going to get... This one is not as wordy as the last scenario. It's a pretty simple concept. Start at 60 minutes. Got it. Okay. The minority Senate leader, Mitch McConnell, yes, he's still alive. Yes, he made a pact with the Space Devil, is calling for an impeachment due to an old forgotten law on the books. Way back during the Robo Scare, shortly before the Singularity. Any robot president must be married. Back when this law was made, robots couldn't get married, so it was a kind of a fucked up law. Luckily, that was about 500 years ago, and robots are perfectly capable of marriage now. I've just never gotten around to it. In order to keep from being impeached and removed from office, you all must decide on a suitable spouse for me out of a few options. First option, stay single. The law is messed up. It wasn't even brought to the table when the Daylight Savings Party had an unmarried robot president just 6 years ago, so why enforce it now? This is a purely political move from the minority party. Fight them on it. Option number 2. Melanie is just putting in the chat, ha 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 ha, Space Devil. I'm glad that other people think this is funny. I thought it was really funny when I wrote it. Option 2, marry my high school sweetheart. Sure, I haven't talked to him in a few years, and sure, this whole thing is a pure power play, but that's gotta be a heartwarming story that will play well with voters. 3, marry the ambassador from Warmatron. Warmatron has been one of Space Station America's closest allies for the last 100 years. We have a strong trade partner with them, and the ambassador, well, she's always been a little flirtatious. And then the 4th option is marry the Prince of Bingleton. There's nothing Americans love more than a monarchy. The youngest Prince of Bingleton won't inherit the throne, but he's very handsome, and his parents have been hinting that they'd like to pawn him off on us. Plus, relations with Bingleton are newly formed and already tenuous. Solidifying that partnership with such a wealthy space station would be in our best interest. So I've called you all to the Oval Office to consider my options.
Madam President, I hate to say it. I know that you prefer your independence, but I think we're going to have to look at marriage here. Frankly, it's a concept that I, as a Martian, don't quite understand with your American culture, but it does play well with the voters. So I think it is an option we need to move forward with.
Now, Josh, just because you are a Martian doesn't mean you're any less of an American than any of the rest of us. That being said, I am completely open to the option of marriage.
Good. I think this is, I think it'll be best for your position as the leader of America.
Madam President, as a brain floating in a jar, marriage is still a concept that is not available to me, mostly because my cerebellum is very wrinkly, and people don't find that attractive. However, I am in agreement with your Chief of Staff that marriage is probably the most beneficial option in this scenario.
Now, Rachel, don't put yourself down like that. I find your wrinkles very beautiful. Don't take that the wrong way. I don't want any allegations against me.
Unfortunately, Madam President, I do not believe that I would be a suitable candidate for marriage.
Yes, I suppose.
Even if you do find my cerebellum attractive.
I suppose marrying the vice president is not the most advantageous option. Mike, you haven't spoken up yet. What is your opinion?
Well, first of all, can I just say Mitch McConnell is always taking it way too far. But I do have to say also, I agree with both your vice president and secretary here. What you got to think about, my firm suggestion is going with Mr. Bingleton. He's a fine young man.
I'm sorry, I have to cut you
What's
off
that?
just because there could be an international incident. It is Prince Bingleton, not Mr. Bingleton, as well as you
Ab-
referred to Josh as my secretary, but they are my chief of staff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyway, like I was saying, you know, the prince is just such a strong pick. I mean, first of all, you got to think about how it's going to position us as the most powerful nation in space. And if we combine our star fleet with their star fleet, it's going to put us in a pretty good position to keep ourselves on top, if you know what I'm saying.
Oops.
If it's purely that's a good one politically. I think it does play well to the voters, but I think if we're going to, if we want to appeal to the voters, what do they love more than a classic love story? Your high school sweetheart that you've had some distance, you've had some time, you've both moved on, but now you reconnect and you have another chance at love. It plays excellent. I think it's the best option on the table.
Oh my gosh, we're making political decisions based on if it's a good story. No, no, no. Josh, what you have to understand is we're the most powerful nation in space. And if we're going to stay that way, I mean, I don't suppose you want Mr. Prince Mr. Prince Bingle's space fleet to come and invade us just because we didn't, get the marriage going. Yeah? He's very interested. He's a very nice young man, too. I met him.
I have to agree with the secretary. You see, if we are looking for a good story, what we should be considering is the fairy tale. What do we love more than a story with a prince? It is simply the best story. Everyone loves it.
I have to say, the only thing that people love more than a story of high school sweethearts getting married is the story of a non-royal marrying a royal. And I will remind you, Secretary, it is Prince of Bingleton. It is not Mr. Prince Bingles. Again, I'd like to avoid an international incident.
Look, they do. The public loves royalty. They love the idea of a commoner marrying royalty. That plays well most of the time. It's a great start. It does not always end well. Sometimes it's for the person marrying into the royal family. Sometimes it's for the royal family. There's just a lot that can backfire on us here, to be honest. I just have to respectfully disagree with my colleagues here. I think there are more risks of this turning sour on us. The people love a classic love story, maybe not quite as much in the beginning as they do with the prince, but it's one that's going to carry through.
I don't see how it's going to turn on us. How is it going to turn on us? We have the biggest and the best ships. We have more combined with Mr. Prince Bingleton. We have more wealth than any other nation in space, and we could probably even take that and build maybe a bigger. I always thought we could use a bigger laser cannon, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. So, and we could definitely use some of that money to, bring down this deficit a little bit too. So, something to think about there.
That's true. The asteroid belt we navigated into left us with quite a lot of room for improvement with regards to the infrastructure.
It also may be worth considering that an X is an X for a reason, and we should not simply suggest that our Madam President marry someone with whom it has been made clear that she is incompatible.
That's something to consider. As a matter of fact, I'm not even 100% sure that he's still single. It's just, I was brainstorming and thought that was an option.
If he's not single, I'm sure we can ensure that he is, at least by the time of the marriage. Look, it's if I know, if my intel is correct, he's gonna prefer to be, first man. It's a step up for him. It's an improvement for his career. He's got his own public image to look at, and I think marrying the robot president too is excellent after some of the scandal in his past. It's a match that works for both of you.
Mr. Chief of Staff, I just want some clarification. Are you suggesting a space murder of a high school boyfriend's spouse in order to secure a marriage?
I would not go so far as murder. There are other ways of ending a relationship other than murder.
It would be, just saying, it would be very easy for us to make him available without anyone knowing it was us. It's not the first time we've done that. So,
For our president or others.
Absolutely.
Space murders are extremely easy to coordinate.
They are. They really are.
Now, there's something we haven't mentioned yet. What about the ambassador from Warmatron? She is quite fetching, and as I mentioned, flirtatious.
The political gains there are good. I'm not quite sure about the image, if it works as well as either of the others. Look, we're gonna have to spin this to the public either way. We need to take your personal feelings into play, Madam President, but we also need to look at what this marriage is going to mean for your reelection and for your public image. You can't govern effectively if the people don't trust you.
Yes, that's true. I will say that marrying my high school sweetheart doesn't provide as many political advantages as the ambassador from Warmatron or the Prince of Bingleton, which would secure an alliance with some of our allies.
That's absolutely right. You've got to think about, with so many attacks happening lately, it just seems like this is the time to cement our power in space. And I'll say this, Warmatron does sound cool and it sounds strong. So it sounds better. I mean, Mr. Bingle doesn't sound quite as good, but I know he'll bring some. He'll probably bring some. What's that?
Once again, Secretary, you're referring to the Prince of Bingleton as Mr. Bingle, and I cannot stress enough how inappropriate that is. If you are advocating that I marry the Prince of Bingleton, you should brush up on your affairs of state I know you're the Secretary of Labor, but this degree of ignorance is astonishing.
Well,
Frankly,
I'm just abbreviating.
frankly, at this point, we're going to have an international incident on our hands with the Secretary of Labor if we try to move forward with this marriage with the prince. We can't have members of your cabinet dismissing and insulting your future spouse. We're going to get in more hot water than we're going to any advantages we're going to gain.
Well, you're going to be in hot water when Mrs. Warmatron comes over and blasts you and takes your jobs and takes your ships. Then you're going to be in some hot water, aren't you?
I must confess I'm a bit confused because are those the two options? Do you know something about Warmatron that I'm not aware of? Are we in danger of immediate attack from the Warmatronians?
You're always in danger of immediate attack from any nation at any time. You have to be very prepared for that. I think we've seen that over the last couple of years. I don't think our laser cannon is big enough. I don't think we have enough, that we're keeping the jobs here that we need to keep. They're all... Warmatron's been coming over with their promises of hoo-foo and fluff and all their... And come work for us. It's great over here. We can't keep people here. We got to be strong. We could even declare war on them after we marry Mr. Bingle, probably.
I have to say, Secretary, you're beginning to sound more like a member of the oppositional party.
Oppositional party?
Yes, the notoriously warmongering daylight savings party. Are you sure that you haven't become some sort of undercover spy?
Well, as far as I don't know if y'all remember the party flip that happened in 2907, but we've I'm listen, I don't want to get into this. I'm in the business of protecting our nation, keeping the jobs, and having a bigger laser cannon so we don't die in space. And you know what? Frankly, I think most people in this big ship agree with me.
Now, Josh, one of your aides has just come in with some new poll numbers, saying things like the Secretary of Labor is a mole, and Prince, respect the crown, and love a royal wedding. So it sounds as if, although there's some mixed opinions on the Secretary of Labor, whether he is some sort of mole or political operative, or if his opinions are correct. Madam Vice President, what is your opinion?
I just think it should be noted that if you go far enough to either end of the political spectrum, you get your guns back. And that perhaps the Secretary of Labor is not a mole, but is simply further to our end of the spectrum than perhaps previously appreciated. However, I do agree with the dear Secretary that we need stability, and we need safety. And do you know what is stable and safe? A monarchy. Monarchies have predated our own sacred republic and provide a measure of comfort to our own people in these difficult times.
Yeah, I mean, if we've got, if the voters are on board, the prince is looking like a better and better option. Now, Madam President, I will warn you against swinging too far to one side. Regardless of what the secretary has to say, uh, the voters also like it if it looks like you're willing to work with the other side. We don't want to look like extremists. No offense, Mr. Secretary, but we need to look like we're willing to work with the other side. And I think that we need to pick a spouse for you that appeals to a wide spectrum of American voters. I think that's our best option here. Do we have any numbers on how the ambassador polls with the public?
That's a good question. Actually, I'm receiving some intel right now that might be pertinent to the conversation. I've just received some papers. While covering the breaking story, reporters from the New York Times have managed to track down my high school sweetheart. Our relationship was quite a while ago, but it seems as though his memory circuits are as functional as ever. He shared some spicy texts, including a few where I promised that if I ever found the time to settle down, I'd marry him. Even more incriminating, I specifically said I'd love to have him for my first lad. Trending hashtags on Robo Twitter are hashtag you promised him Madam President and hashtag Team Bingleton.
Yeah, we are. Oh, this puts us in a pickle. It's really a shame we couldn't get out in front of this thing and make our decision well known ahead of time. But again, I know I'm bouncing back and forth here a little bit, but I do think that your high school sweetheart, it's it's such a classic story. The voters love it. Obviously, look, if he still has feelings for you, if his emotion circuits are still running, that's going to play very well. Madam President, I think we strongly have to consider this option.
Josh, if we are looking for a classic story, is not the high school sweetheart merely an invention of mid-20th century America, whereas the classic love story of a prince dates well beyond that time?
That's true, but we don't have voters that date back to the 20th century, where our voters can't even remember last week. They're not going to care about which story came first. They're going to care about what appeals to their hearts. Those of them that have them, and for the robots, it's going to appeal to their emotion circuits, their programming. It plays well across the spectrum.
I would like to remind you that it's not merely the robots who do not have hearts. Some of us have only our frontal lobes. And whatever part of the brain it is that controls emotions, I believe it starts with an H, but I cannot remember it right now.
I have to agree. I mean, most of my brain was taken out a while ago and replaced with some early machinery that sometimes may or may not work, but I've learned to live with that. I just have to say, once again, I don't think any of this matters. These texts, I send texts all the time. You guys, you all know. My communications have regularly been leaked and got me in hot water. But you know why I'm popular? I am popular with the working person in this great spaceship of ours because I'm honest, I'm forthcoming, and I want a bigger cannon to protect them. So I don't think that marrying your high school sweetheart because you sent them a text one time is gonna play very well, first of all. Second of all, it's not gonna what's it gonna get you? What do we get? You don't even have to really talk to this person you marry. It can just be for show, right?
We're going to have to get. We're going to need photos. We're going to need opportunity. We need pictures of them out at brunch. We need images of them viewing the sunset would be perfect as we pass by one of the suns that we circle past. Uh, we have to
Well,
play
if that
this
take a
in
minute,
public.
takes a minute. We could just do a photo shoot and then would release them over the next like 10 years, right?
With the availability of warp drive, getting the prince here to obtain all of these things that you have listed is very simple. All of this can be done in a very short amount of time.
I'm just saying, I think the voters are going to detect if we're not sincere. We need to be. Look,
That's why you got me here. That's
look,
why I'm here.
Mr. Secretary, we can discuss your PR options later.
My
We're-
options.
They are running a little bit limited, but I do have a few plays I'd like to run past you. That's a matter for another time. We're here to discuss the president's new spouse.
I've got a play for you. I've got one play for you. How about this? New York Times headline: America Bengal spaceship blows up biggest planet ever. Now that's pretty cool. That's a good headline right there.
It's an
We could blow up a
eye-catching.
star, maybe. We could blow up a sun. That would look cool. That would look good.
It's an eye-catching headline. That's not exactly what we need right now. We've look, the last planet we blew up was an absolute disaster. We need to shy away from planetary destruction right now. It's not playing as well as we thought, and we really need to tone that down for now. And again, this is why we need to get the president a spouse. It's a good thing to the public. This is going to soften the president. It's going to make the president look more robotic in their eyes.
I'd like to point out very quickly, just circling back to something said earlier, the sunset photos. It comes to my mind that the closest sun to our current orbital pattern is the sun of Warmatron, and so having sunset photos taken there could possibly rub salt in the wound of the ambassador to Warmatron, who, as I've mentioned, may have feelings for me. But, Madam Vice President, you were about to say something. Proceed.
I wanted to point out to the room that the chief of staff seemed to have advocated for murder earlier when it came to his their potential marriage candidate, but appears to draw the line at planetary destruction. And I just wanted to clarify exactly where their position may lie in terms of the value of life.
Again, I have never advocated for murder. I know you have you all humans and robots. You have your American hang-ups on this.
Please, I am a brain, Najar. I am neither human nor robot.
American, then we can all agree that we're all American. But as an immigrant, I have an outsider's view on the culture here. I know you have the hang-ups on murder. It's not what I was advocating for. It does not play well. We've tested it in many markets. It doesn't do well. We don't even know that the high school sweetheart is even connected to anyone. And I'm sure if they are, we have blackmail on everyone. We can release whatever information we need. We've already had text released. We'll just release more.
I will say that the current trending hashtag on Twitter is three-way marriage. That I don't believe that's legal right now, but we could easily change the law and just, marry all three.
Now that is very interesting right there. That's How soon can we get that passed?
That is a problem because the impeachment trial is set to begin in roughly a half an hour. Perhaps something to consider for the future.
Is it legal in Warmatron?
I don't believe so. Once again, your knowledge of intergalactic policies is... The lack of knowledge is troubling.
I'm knowledgeable about this great spaceship that I'm in right now.
Please don't sell us short. It is much more than a spaceship. I would refer to it as a space station.
Oh my gosh.
Frankly, I am becoming more and more convinced that the secretary is potentially a mole. I don't even know if it's the opposition party. It could be from some further outside influencer. Look, I'm wondering if we shouldn't consider the further possibility of a 3 or 4-way marriage. It brings together as many groups as possible.
I do like the idea.
It does. It gives us political power. It ties us in. It's going to make us safer if we connect to these other space stations. I think it's goals that everyone can agree on.
This also gives us a chance to get some... We can... Basically, what we can do at that point is blackmail anyone. So, if we want something... all we have to do is say we have information on you and give us this, and then they will give us that.
Yes, we have information on everyone except Mitch McConnell, who is completely invulnerable.
Madam President, you were going to say something before perhaps you're choking on your water, as this is a very serious...
Yes, I
serious
do
matter.
apologize. Please
Surely
go
you're
ahead.
not laughing.
There would be much to consider in terms of a 3 or 4-way relationship that I fear we simply do not have the time to sort out between now and the impending impeachment trial. So I do not know that I can personally support that decision. Though
I think
perhaps,
what we could... Oh, please, I'm sorry.
Perhaps, since the Chief of Staff does not necessarily seem opposed to murder, I know, it did not pull well. What if perhaps we simply killed Mitch McConnell?
I don't want to go on the record with anything. We have tried many possibilities. We have a lot of operations in play, not a lot of successful ones, is all I can say at this time. Regardless, I think we're going to have to make this decision about marriage, before we can enact anything like that.
I will also clarify, for the sake of any Twitch overlords watching, that this is a fully fictionalized version of Mitch McConnell. Any resemblances to any real person is purely incidental. Of course, we're not making any sort of violent suggestions.
We are
just
on
to
the
clarify.
record absolutely not making any violent
Yes.
statements.
Yes. But proceed. I seem to be choking on a bit of my water myself.
Yes, I have said, Madam President, the water is maybe not great for your circuitry.
I know what's good for my own circuits. Thank you very much.
It is your call to make, and again, the voters seem to like it, bizarrely enough. So
yes, the voters are very in favor of this specific brand of sparkling water, and should the brand be interested in contributing to my campaign funds, that would be more than welcome.
Yes, I'm making a note to reach out to them tonight.
I'm sorry, but how likely is this impeachment even going to go through? I mean, how many times has this, what? This is like your 5th time being impeached?
Yes,
I don't really see at this point.
I've been in office
Yeah.
for a mere 5 months, and this is in fact the 5th impeachment.
Yes. Well,
And
you know why that is, don't you?
I hesitate to ask.
It's because the vote. It's because you need the voters on your side. They're not satisfied. I know it's going to satisfy them. I talk to these people every day. I talk to my constituencies. I talk to my staff, very well versed in the subject. And I gotta say, I'm liking this 3-way marriage idea. I think what you could do, maybe you don't even have to make an announcement. You could just say, we've decided. Can we get Mr. Bingle on the line? Would he agree to this?
Once again, it is the Prince of Bingleton, and I also have to remind you that the 3-way marriage idea purely came from Twitter, and were this some sort of pre-written sort of thing, there's no preordained outcome from a 3-way marriage. It's simply a suggestion that I read while browsing Robo Twitter.
Yeah, that means the people want it.
A people want
and
it.
maybe. What's that?
I said a people want it. A people. A single people.
Might be more if we get to Prince Bingleton. If we could talk to him before the conference, and if we can get Miss Wormatron on the phone as well, maybe we can agree to this beforehand, you know.
Do we know enough about the prince? We know that there was interest from the ambassador of Wormatron, and Madam President, you made some allusions to people being satisfied. Have we considered your own satisfaction?
My personal
when it
feelings.
comes to a marriage? Yes, I just want to make sure that you will be satisfied.
I appreciate. As always, I appreciate your consideration for my personal life. I have been led to believe that the Prince of Bingleton, as well as from my own recollection, my high school sweetheart, are both more than able to satisfy partners. I also suspect I would be happy with the ambassador from Wormatron. Are we at an impasse? We have someone in favor, the chief of staff, in favor of marrying my high school sweetheart, my vice president and secretary of labor, who for some reason is involved in this decision. Excuse me, I'm choking on my water. Seem to believe that an alliance with Bingleton would be most advantageous.
Absolutely. I just don't see a way around it. I mean, what you could do is you could marry him for a year, so just see what that gets us.
I'd be interested.
We don't.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just gonna say, if we don't get anything good, then you can just we'll just say that he was unfaithful, and you had to leave him. Or maybe after we get what we want, then you can also leave him. Could be possible too.
I'd be interested in hearing if the chief of staff, what the polling numbers are like for divorcing someone after 1 year.
It's I'm gonna be honest, it's not good. Uh, it doesn't play well. Frankly, frankly, I don't think the prince offers us what we're looking for here. I know there are some voters in favor, but I don't think it appeals to the voters as much as your sweetheart would. And if it's political favor we're looking for, I think the ambassador offers much more. The prince, and again, we have a secretary, a member of your own cabinet, who's basically may come to blows with the prince if the rumors I've heard of the prince's temper are at all true, and his feelings at being misnamed. We might have an international incident on our hands just right there.
Now, I am receiving a memo. The ambassador to Bingleton has let us in on a hot tip. Tensions between Bingleton and Warmatron are elevated due to a bad trade deal between the two. The royal family of Bingleton promised to build a cyber crystal mining facility, bringing jobs to an economically depressed area of Warmatron in exchange for a series of tax breaks. They took the money and ran, building a much smaller facility than promised and relying on automation rather than hiring in the area. It looks like a marriage to one will end the alliance between Space Station America and the other. In addition, there are plenty of wealthy people on Space Station America who are hoping that my marriage to a wealthy prince will tame some of my socialist impulses.
Frankly, I think we want to stay entirely out of this mess if we can. Either decision you make, either side you pick, if we're choosing between Armatron and Bingleton, we're going to lose favor one way or the other, and that's just not good for us politically.
I will also mention, sorry, there was another page to this memo that I forgot to read. Warmatron has long provided us favorable deals in the interest of making our space station as green as possible. We risk losing a lot of our best doctors and scientists if our favorable immigration and trade policies with Warmatron degrade. Then again, the ambassador to Bingleton mentions that all those discount military weapons from Bingleton are nothing to scoff at. Transmission ended.
Well, Mr. Secretary, do you have anything to say about discount weapons?
Nothing I haven't said before. And probably a discount cannon, I would imagine. A laser cannon. A big one. And now that's nothing to scoff at. I agree with Mr. Prince Bingle on that one for sure. See, I think you're too worried about me and the prince coming to blows, and we. I like his style. I just and something you have to think about too is, yeah, we'll lose political favor with one or the other, but how much is political favor worth once you hold all the cards, so to speak? If you know what I'm saying.
With all due respect to the Chief of Staff, I do think it may be worth considering that in this global space that we now all inhabit, there is simply no such thing as staying out of a situation like this. It will affect us one way or another, but by choosing either the ambassador or the prince, we seize control over our own fate in the matter, rather than simply leaving it up to chance of whoever decides to escalate the issue first.
I'm going to toss something a little bit further out there. But if we're looking for cannons, your high school sweetheart is a robot, yes? Can we install them with an armed laser cannon and appeal to both groups? We get love, we get a classic story. We also get a laser cannon in there. We get everyone. Who doesn't like one of those?
I will admit it's been... Oh, I'm muted. I was muted. I will admit it's been some time since I've seen my high school sweetheart. It's entirely possible that they are already equipped with a laser cannon. It's not that uncommon of an accessory. Point in case. You can never be too safe.
And again, that was an excellent decision. That I think that pushed us over the top in some areas, and that's what got you elected.
I think it was that and my charisma.
Well, of course.
Well, it seems like we're all in agreement then. Prince Bingle gives us the arm cannon, and we put it on the high school sweetheart, right? Is that it? We marry Prince Bingle, he gives us a laser, and then we attach it to our citizen. Is that it?
I don't think it catches the voters' attention if we're just taking some random citizen and giving them an arm cannon. We've tried that. It hasn't given us the advantage that we need. If the president marries someone with an arm cannon, I think that's...
Oh.
If it's on the table, I have to insist it's our best option.
The Supreme Court did rule that eminent domain does not apply to citizens' bodies. We'll all take a moment of silence to remember that we lost that court battle.
It's a shame, too. We were pushing hard for it. If only Mitch McConnell wouldn't have stopped us.
It may be worth considering that attaching an arm cannon to a private citizen would be in violation of the amendment that prevents soldiers from being housed with private citizens, and that may in fact in some ways invalidate the marriage if the president is unable to maintain a residence with their high school sweetheart whom a weapon was installed on in order to curry political favor.
Arguably, the installation of said weapon may also be considered housing a soldier inside a private residence, which I believe was one of the main points in the Supreme Court case.
That's a very good point. Now, that's something I did not consider at all. That's why we have you here, Madam Vice President. Sometimes maybe my ideas aren't always the best, I guess, but we could try and win the court case again. How long do we have to win a court case? Can we do that?
Yes, the impeachment hearing is set to begin in 11 minutes and 30 seconds.
Well, we could probably get something through that could challenge the constitutionality of housing soldiers in your home.
That's true. If I remember correctly, that's the Fourth Amendment. It's been in place for quite some time. That might not be the right number, but it's certainly one of the early ones.
It is. Yeah.
I will also say the impeachment trial begins in 11 minutes plus however long we've determined it takes to marry someone quickly.
I do not think it would be a benefit to the satisfaction of our citizens if we attempted to repeal constitutional amendments in order to legalize a questionable marriage.
We could. We don't have to force an arm cannon on anybody. It's legal. It is still legal if it's by their choice.
That's true, but the I believe the point still stands of the soldier quartering in my home. Although I suppose that's up to personal choice as well.
And you know what? The voters aren't really going to care that much about the Constitution if their personal feelings get in the way of that. And if this marriage appeals to them, they're not really going to care about how legal it is.
Now, if I remember correctly, you're arguing that that I should be marrying my high school sweetheart. We've been talking in circles for almost an hour now, and I don't believe we're any closer to a decision than we were at the beginning. As far as I understand, the choices are still between the Prince of Bingleton and my high school sweetheart. Is that correct? And we have no qualms with alienating Warmatron.
There are always qualms, Madam President, but I do feel that inaction is in and of itself a choice and would perhaps have its own consequences, and that we are benefited more by making a strong choice now rather than having one made for us later.
That's true. The great sages, names lost to time, did once speak. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
Now, here's something to really consider. What if we play this both sides? You marry Prince Bingleton, and then you both publicly say, this marriage basically doesn't matter to me, because marriage doesn't mean anything. We just want the best for both of our respective citizenries. We stick it to Mitch McConnell, and we get the military weapons necessary. Or you could even say, well, we're kind of married, but sometimes we just like hang out. It's like not that serious, you know. Just an idea.
The public is not gonna like a non-committal answer like that. And frankly, if we want to play both sides, we need to stay out of this conflict. We can't choose one side and try to play with the other. We can use both Warmatron and Bingleton if we choose the high school sweetheart. It leaves our options open.
I will ask, Secretary, if your personal views of marriage are that you don't really have to be committed to the other person. Just no reason, just curious.
Well, if both of you come out and say that this is your plan for the marriage, I don't really see a problem.
All right, I was just curious as to how far that view extended.
Well, it extends to the laser cannon.
Yes, once a laser cannon is introduced into the equation, all bets are off. I will say Twitter has been, as any good president, I've been very active on Twitter. And I will say Twitter has been lighting up with questions about how hot the various the various marriage candidates are, and I will put everyone's minds at ease that all three of these potential spouses are extremely hot, as I'm sure you all know.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we wouldn't be considering anyone who's not incredibly physically attractive for you,
Oh, yeah.
Madam President.
It just looks good. I mean, you know,
I would want nothing less out of a marriage.
well, right.
We have about 5 minutes until we have to get this ceremony on the road.
5 minutes does not leave us a lot of time. Who is
It leaves us just enough time to call Mr. Bingle. Call him up. Case closed.
Maybe we should just be considering the logistics. Who is closest? Who can we get on the line for a telewedding?
Well,
And frankly, I think the ambassador and the prince are going to be busy. Your high school sweetheart is up to a little bit less. I think we can get them on the phone.
I'll point
quicker.
out the ambassador is already on Space Station America. She's stationed here as an ambassador, so she would be the close. Well, as far as I know, my ex is also on the space station. But Madam President, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I merely wanted to point out that by the admission of my own colleagues here today, we are extremely powerful, and I have no doubt that any candidate that we chose to contact would immediately come to our beck and call if we summoned them.
I was about to say that exact thing. We could even summon them by showing some kind of, I don't know, if we did some sort of space pirate maneuver. Maybe if we tried to board the ship or do some kind of attack on Prince Pingleton, we could hold him hostage and then make him marry you or something like that.
I don't know what
Might
it
look
is.
good.
Go
I have
ahead,
to say,
I'm sorry.
forced marriage is not going to play well with anyone.
It might.
I don't know what it is about the Secretary of Labor, but secretaries of labor for eons past have always been described as a maverick, always coming in with very, very intriguing but unlikely solutions to problems. It's a long-held tradition. That's why I picked you for the role.
Right. It has to be a maverick every time. Frankly, it's gotten us on a lot of hot water before, and it seems like it's doing it again. That's all I have to say.
We have 3 minutes until the marriage has to commence. I'll give each of you a little less than a minute to make your case. Starting with the chief of staff. You now only have about 30 seconds.
Again, I think I've already made my case. A classic love story with an old flame. It's gonna play well with the public. It keeps us out of the situation with Wormatron and Bingleton. We don't start any international wars. You get a spouse, and we skate through this impeachment trial. We come out fine on the other side.
Madam Vice President, your thoughts?
I agree with the chief of staff that, voter satisfaction and how the people feel about the marriage is extremely important, which is why I feel that the prince is the best choice, given that the people will enjoy the classic romantic nature of such a pairing, as well as securing us some international prestige by having you wed a royal family.
And finally, Mr. Secretary, what do you have to your final argument?
I have to agree with Madam Vice President again. We all love a love-a-dove-a-dove story. It's gonna make you feel real good inside. Oh, it's gonna make us. Oh, it's gonna. Oh, you don't have to get in a war with anyone. But what if you showed some strength? You got in there. You picked a side, and then you won. Now that looks really good. If you pick a side and you win, now that looks great because you won. So I mean, not only does Prince Bingleton offer, if I may be so bold, financial stability. There's a lot of money that we could have from that part of space. We desperately need it. We need the military might, and if we come out on top of the intergalactic war that will ensue after you marry him, then the voters are going to be really happy about that. So,
Well, Mr. Secretary. Oh, I'm muted on the call. I had to unmute myself. Mr. Secretary, I'm afraid we are out of time. Oh my goodness, that alarm was incredibly loud. I was trying to stop it before it did that. Hang on 1 second. We're out of time. I had to get back into my robot voice. We're out of time. It's time for me to pick a spouse. And I feel, although I always trust your instincts, Chief of Staff, I feel like I have to go with the majority opinion on this one and marry the Prince of Bingleton, provided that the Labor Secretary can remember that it is in fact the Prince of Bingleton and not Mr. Bingle. Then I'm gonna stop this robot voice, just go back to my narration voice, and tell you all the scores for marrying the Prince of Bingleton. My computer wants to restart, and I don't want it to. Okay, so marry the Prince of Bingleton. Is Bingleton a morally corrupt capitalist monarchy? Sure, but the wedding was so beautiful. Plus, Bingleton has a tiny military force with way too many weapons. We're able to buy tons of them wholesale. Unfortunately, relations with Warmatron sour quickly, and when their grants and visas go away, so do their doctors and scientists. Still, being President Princess Robot Taylor is pretty cool. So the scores for this one, conservation goes down. Development goes down, military goes up, voter satisfaction goes up, health goes down, centrism is nil, balanced budget goes down, international prestige goes down, and tax revenue goes up. I don't believe anyone made any assertions during that round. No, it doesn't look like. Okay. So we'll go ahead and start with Rachel. What was your final score?
-1.
Okay, and then who's next? Josh, what was your score?
0. 1 up, 1 down.
And Labor Secretary, what was your score?
also a -1, oddly enough.
So Josh with 0 points.
Yeah, somehow.
The Chief of Staff, whose opinions I did not follow. You came out with the win. I married the Prince of Bingleton. Hang on, let me save this and close it. So that was super fun. That was that was really, really fun for me. Hopefully it was fun for everyone else too. And I tried to work in the chat a little bit this and refer to chat as like Twitter, because there were people in the chat. So thank you so much. Let me see who participated as Twitter. Melanie, Super Silly Sarah, and Dreamy. I think that's everyone who I refer to as Twitter. Thanks so much for your input. It's I can't always like directly address you while I'm like running games like this, but very much appreciated. Also, I don't know what's going on with my bot. I was trying it out and it just wasn't working. But if you aren't already following Super Silly Sarah and Dreamy, definitely give them a follow. They're both variety streamers. And Super Silly Sarah also does like comic book streams, the Comic Book Concierge. And also, speaking of Super Silly Sarah, she is going to be on my next stream on Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, we're playing Mouse Order, which is kind of like a Redwall type game. If you want to see the character art for that, you can follow Roll for Felicity on Twitter. I've tweeted 2 of the pieces. Tomorrow, actually, I'm going to tweet Sierra's character. And thank you so much to everybody who hung out tonight. Thank you to our very own Rachel for the Prime subscription. And do I still have the name? Yeah, CT Truster. Thank you so much for the 6-month tier 1 sub. I appreciate that so much. That's so great. I mentioned this before. I did submit emotes, so everyone who subscribed should pretty soon be able to have access to one emote for now. But you know, as I'm getting subscribers, they'll unlock more emote slots, so you know, we'll probably have access to more soon. And yeah, and also if you have a Amazon Prime account, you can use your Twitch Prime to subscribe with Prime. It won't cost you anything, but will be even more further support. But honestly, it's enough support that you're following, watching, chatting. I appreciate that so much. And thank you so much to my guests tonight. Thank you, Rachel, Josh, and Mike. You were excellent character choices for the last for the last scenario were super fun. It seemed like everybody in the chat was having a good time. Enjoyed that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it over to each of you if you want to you know, have anything to plug again, just for people who have joined since the break, and Rachel, if you want to start us off with that.
Sure. Thank you so much, everybody who watched. I will once again plug mask wearing. We are still in a pandemic. Everybody be safe out there.
Sorry, I was just expecting the next one person to start talking, but I did not tell them. Josh, do you want to go ahead and do you have anything to plug?
Nothing to plug. I will also say thank you as the chief of staff, everyone who participated in the chat. It's great to get that real-time feedback from the voters, so that really makes my job easier.
Yes,
so just
yeah.
major thank you to you.
And then finally, Mike, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, nothing really to plug. Definitely, everyone who watched, definitely check out the stream on Tuesday. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And check out, Taylor mentioned some channels, other Twitch channels. Go ahead and check those out. I've watched them before, and they're pretty cool. So, yeah.
And speaking of channels I've mentioned, I've rated her before, but just because she's going to be on the next stream, I feel like this is the perfect person to raid while we're online, and she's also playing a game I really like. I'm going to go ahead after this stream and raid Goblin Girl Gaming. Like I said, she's an amazing artist, super fun. She's also pretty close, I think, to making affiliate, which is super exciting. So I am going to raid her. If you participate in the raid, first of all, it's just like fun. I'm going to be in the chat hanging out there for a little bit. And also you get 250 channel points for my channel. So things like Super Silly Sarah, thank you for contributing 250 channel points. I have a challenge right now that I didn't mention at all. Maybe because I don't want to do it exactly. But I have a challenge that if people contribute felicitations, I will play some sort of scary game on stream, which I am like a coward. So maybe that'll be fun for people to watch. But yeah, if you participate in the raid, you'll get some channel points, and you'll get to hang out with somebody who's going to be on our next stream. And then also if you want to find out like what some of the other options were like and outcomes for this scenario, I stream Tuesdays, actually next week it'll be Wednesday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and probably one of those streams I'll talk about like behind the scenes of this game. So yeah, thank you once again to, let me hit this so the countdown will start. Thank you once again to the participants tonight in the stream. Thank you to everybody who is in the chat, everyone who watched tonight, and thank you once again to Rachel and CT Truster for the subscriptions. I really appreciate that. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye.